What's up, Rooted Collective? Welcome back to Awakened and Rooted, where the veil is thin, the vibes are deep, and the stories will make you question everything. So if you are into the mystical, the metaphysical, or the downright unexplainable, you are in the right place. So before we begin, I want to thank you all for helping me get to 1,000 subscribers. I am overwhelmed, amazed, extremely happy that we are here and that we continue to keep growing. If you all know anyone who is into the mystical or the metaphysical and they would enjoy these videos, please share. Again, thank you all so much. Let's get into it.
This woman has the scariest stories on TikTok. If you're new here, hi. I usually talk about pretty scary stuff, and I stumbled across this woman's page a couple of days ago, and since then, I have not stopped thinking about this particular story. And when I tell y'all that this story scared me so bad that it has not left my mind. I'm specifically talking about this woman's video. Now, this woman was an on-call healthcare professional in the Appalachian Mountains. If that doesn't already give you chills, I don't know what will. Now, some of her clients do not have running water or electricity, so they would send time card slips by mail up to the clients, and when they would receive them is when they would have their appointment. Upon arriving at the specific client's house, who this story is about, she was met by a swarm of flies. Now, at this part in the story, I had no idea what kind of story this was going to be. I did not know if it was going to be like a body. I did not know if it was going to be like a medical thing. I did not know. She says that this particular client did not have any furniture in the home, so she was met with a damp smell and newspapers spread all over this floor. The client gestures for her to sit down, and she does, not wanting to embarrass this client, and there are just flies everywhere. And this is a detail that has not left my mind. As she's putting in the notes on her laptop, anytime she would move her hand, she would hit a fly. That is how many flies were in this home. And these flies, in particular, were trying to get into her eye. And you know where this is going. The fly got so close to her eye that she actually caught one in her eyelid. Obviously, her eye started watering, but this fly would not come out of her eye. And finally, she's able to get the body of the fly out of her eye, but she can still feel something in her eye. But she continues on. She continues taking her notes. She's asking the client questions and had been noticing that whenever she would ask this client a question who lived alone, they would respond back in plural. So, do you take medications? Yes, we take medications. We live here. Plural. And at one point, she asks this client to clarify, and they say, we live here. So after this visit is concluded, she gets in her car, she goes home. Once she gets home, she makes an appointment with her optometrist to get whatever is left out of her eye because she can feel that there's something still in there. Now she goes to leave, flies covering the screen door. She's like, what the heck is going on? So she brushes them off, gets in her car, turns the car on, goes to the optometrist, and they are able to remove a fly's wing and a fly's leg. Gets in her car, starts the car, and flies. Buzz through the vents. And it's at this point where she's understanding what this client was meaning when they would say, we live here, we take medications, we do this. And immediately it goes to her church, because if you don't know what I'm picking up and putting down, this was a demonic entity. Now, in retrospect, yes, that makes a lot of sense, because the flies, the smell, the we. He says, cast it out. It is not welcome to be in your home. So she does just that. And mind you, the flies have not left her home. She casts this thing out. She's laying in bed waiting for her husband to come up to bed when she sees something sitting on her ceiling. And this is the part that gave me chills, okay? I've been thinking about it for almost a week. She says that this thing was missing a leg. And she says that it started to turn its head. And she knows this because she could see its hair fall to look at her when it was changing its position. And it begins to crawl across her ceiling, not breaking eye contact with her. Crawled into her closet. She never saw it again. And here's the kicker. Wakes up the next morning, goes downstairs, opens up her front door, and all of the flies that were infesting the screen door or now dead. And all I gotta say is this. That woman says something very important in that video, and it is throughout the entirety of it. She says that when you talk about things like this, it manifests. And I couldn't agree more. Right after I heard this video, I am walking out the front door and I hear something. And mind you, I've been doing really, really good, okay? I have not heard a single peep. I have not heard a single scratch. I have not heard anything until I heard this video. So take that as you will. But anyways, that's gonna do it for me. Stay tuned for more ghost stories.
Okay, like this one, y'all, for real, I just have chills like on the back of my arms. Ooh, I don't like it. And then she said talking about it manifested. I'm like, why are you sitting there talking about it then? And I need to light my incense here. Ooh, oh my God, no. This is what we don't do. Let me keep this close to me because this is what we don't do. Oh, that makes you not want to go to anybody's home, especially as like a healthcare worker, because you never know what you're going to get into.
All right, if you don't like real life ghost stories, then you're going to want to skip this video. But if you do, then stick around. When I was a kid, my father started dabbling with the occult. He joined a group of Rosicrucians, which is a witchcraft cult. And he would bring some items to the apartment where we lived in after work, and he would go into the bedroom, lock himself in. If we were in there, he'd, have us leave. And he would perform some sort of ritual or God knows what. We weren't allowed in. He didn't tell us what he was doing, but it was something to do with the witchcraft. Strange things started happening in the apartment, but eventually my mother left him, and we had to move in with family. And of course, we were very poor, so we all shared a bedroom. My mother and my sister slept in one bed. I slept in a smaller bed next to them. One night, I remember waking up at about 3 in the morning. I had been waking up at about 3 in the morning every night for a while, but on this particular night, I woke up and I was just laying there awake, and I had turned and I was facing my mother and sister's bed, when suddenly I see this blue light come out of my mother. This bright, brilliant, indescribable light that I've never seen before or since. When this light came up, it was like my mother laying there on the bed, and this thing just came up like this. It sat up. It was what you would call a ghost, a spirit, and it was my mother. Same hair, same face, same torso, arms, and because it was sitting there, the blue in her legs, it was still just sitting there like inside her legs, but her torso, she kind of sat up on the bed with her arms back, like when you're about to get up out of bed, and it's staring forward. And I guess it sensed that I was looking at it, and so it turned to look to me. And when it looked at me, again, the visible appearance of it was identical to my mother, but there was something strange in her look. It didn't have the look that my mother gives. It didn't have that same stare, that same glare or look that my mother had. When a loved one looks at you and they're not okay, anyway, it was off. It was foreign. It was strange, and it was looking at me almost as if it was confused as to why I was looking at it. It was confused that I was in its presence, almost as if it was strange to it that I was looking at her. And this freaked me out. Of course, after a few seconds, and I guess after I absorbed it and processed it in my 5-year-old mind, I began to scream bloody murder. And it looked at me, it was still looking at me, and when I started to scream, it just kind of went, and it turned back forward, and it laid back down. One of the things that really stood out to me was, as bright and brilliant as this thing was, it wouldn't give off any light. It didn't give off light into the room, onto the wall, onto me. It was all contained there. And it was the most brilliant blue light. I've never seen anything like it before, anything like it since. It was a blue, almost like this color blue, but just imagine super bright. And so after it laid down and I started screaming, I jumped out of the bed and I went over to my mother's bed and I was trying to find comfort in her, but she wasn't waking up. I was basically dancing and jumping around on the bed, and it roused my sister, my older sister, who was at the time 12. And she just kind of was like, "What's wrong? Go back to bed." And I guess she thought I was having a nightmare. The next morning, I go up to my mother and she's getting ready for work. She worked at a restaurant, and I'm trying to tell her about what happened and if she remembered what happened. And I said, "Mom, can I tell you something?" And she said, "Not now, mijo, I don't have time. I'm getting ready for work." I tried the next day, and apparently I tried for about 2 weeks, my mother recounts, because after about 2 weeks of me going up to her saying, "Mom, I got to tell you something," it hit her and she said, "Okay, what's wrong with this kid? Something's on his mind and he needs to tell me something. I better pay attention." And so I recounted this story that I just told you, and she had zero recollection of this. And that was strange. And she asked me to tell it to her more than once. Over the next, few weeks, she was just shocked. She told family about it. And the story didn't change because it's a memory. It's not a story. So even years later, we remember this. This is one of the things that stood out. These things, when you're dabbling with things like witchcraft, these kinds of things will follow you around for years. This is one of many experiences. So if you're interested in hearing more about this, let me know. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think about what I just told you about. And tell me if that would freak you out.
If I was 5 years old and I had a vision, if I was 5 years old and I saw, let's put it that way, something rise up out of my mother that was a bright blue, yeah, that would freak me out. And I wouldn't expect his mother to have any recollection of it because she was asleep and apparently he couldn't wake her up afterwards. But yeah, that would completely freak me out. And it's bright blue, but it's not giving off any light in the room. That is weird.
It started small. Emma would glance at the bathroom mirror and feel off, like something in the reflection was just slightly delayed, a breath that didn't match, a movement that wasn't shown. She thought she was imagining it. Until one night after brushing her teeth, she turned to leave and saw her reflection smile. She hadn't smiled, she froze. Looked back, the mirror was normal. Her reflection just stared back, blank-faced like always. She laughed it off, maybe she was tired. The next day she tested it. She stood perfectly still when the reflection blinked twice. Emma backed away slowly, grabbed her phone and started filming. Nothing. The reflection acted normal on camera, but when she turned it off, the mirror version of her leaned forward, just slightly, and mouthed something. She ran. The next morning the mirror was gone, replaced by a smooth painted-over wall. She called the landlord, panicked. He hesitated, then said, "There's no mirror in that unit. Hasn't been one since the last girl disappeared in 2019. Emma paused. "Disappeared?" He replied. "They found footage on her phone. Just her, in front of a mirror." Laughing, he hung up. That night her phone lit up. A video file she didn't record. Her reflection smiling, waving. Follow for part 2.
Dang it, why is it a part 2? That makes me sick. I didn't even think to say that it would be a part 2 because I don't watch these in advance. But you didn't tell me this before I rented this apartment from you. You didn't tell me that some girl disappeared from my apartment and that there was no mirror originally in this bathroom.
There was this guy named Calvin who grew up in the Appalachian Mountains with his parents. And he said at this particular time, he lived in this tri-level home. And at the time, his parents would stay in the basement, which was kind of like an apartment. And he had the whole upstairs of this house to himself. And he said he'd never really seen his parents that much because they were either at work or they were down in the basement. Well, one night he comes home and it's pretty late. He goes inside and he goes to the basement door. When he opens the basement door, he hears ha 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 ha, like laughing. This strange laughing coming from down in the basement. And so he's like, Mom, Dad, like, is everything okay? And they're like, yeah, honey, everything's fine. Just go to bed. And he's like, okay. Closes the basement door. And then he goes up to his room. Well, later that night, he's hanging out in his room. He's listening to music. And that's when he looks out his window and he sees his parents. They are both standing next to the woods. And he's like, what are my parents doing outside at like midnight, standing next to the woods? And so he watched them, and they just stood there, like staring out into the woods. So he's like, okay, whatever, you know, they can do whatever. I don't really care. So he went to his bed and he like lays down. So the next day, he said, you know, he came in, he opened the door to the basement, and he's like, hey, Mom and Dad, like, you know, was everything okay last night? You were out in the woods. And they're like, yeah, honey, everything's fine. Like, don't worry. And he's like, okay, you know, you guys gonna be all right? And he's like, yeah, we're fine, honey. Just like, go upstairs. So he goes back to his bedroom. Later that night, he starts hearing all this banging sounds coming from the basement where his parents are staying. And he's like, what are they doing so this late at night? But he just ignores it. And for several nights, he would come home and like he would go to the basement door and like his parents would be doing something weird and they would just tell him to go upstairs. And then finally, like 2 weeks later, he said he came home, he went inside and he opened the basement door and was like, hey, Mom, Dad, like I'm going to go to a friend's house tonight, but I won't be too late. You know, I'm going to come back about 10:30. And that's when he hears his dad say, okay, son, but there's something very important you must do tonight. And he's like, okay, what's that? And he's like, you need to come down here at 3 a.m. And he's like, what do you mean come down here at 3 a.m.? He's like, I want you to come down to the basement at 3 a.m. Like, we have something we want to show you. It's a surprise. And he's like, okay, whatever. That's weird, but all right. So he closes the basement door and he goes back up to his room. As he's getting ready to leave, the phone starts ringing. He picks up the phone and it's his mom. And he's like, hey, you know, like I heard you loud and clear, like I'll go down there at 3 a.m. like you asked. And his mom's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you told me to go downstairs at 3 a.m. And she's like, no, I was just calling you to tell you that we've actually been out of town for like a couple weeks now. Like we went to go stay with your uncle. And I just wanted to check on you, make sure everything was okay. And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, I just talked to you down in the basement. And she's like, no, we are not home. We are like 800 miles away. And that's when he realized, like, he wasn't talking to his parents. So he runs out of the house. He stays at his friend's. And finally, his parents come back. And he goes with his parents back to the house. They go down in the basement. And everything is fine. Like, there's no sign of a break-in. Like, everything's closed up. The only weird thing is that the back door to the basement was opened facing the direction of the woods.
I'm confused because, first of all, why didn't you know initially that your parents were out of town? But what the hell was in your house? Was it like mimics? I'm glad his mother called him.
What's up? What y'all doing?
I was with them in the beginning. But those last few, please. I feel like you wasted my time a little bit.
What is going on? I'm basically just securing all this stuff right now. Just making sure there's nobody in here. Anybody in here? Hello?
No.
Yeah, but listen, you gotta get out of here. You're gonna have to come talk to me, okay? Where you at? I can't see you. You're correct, so you need to come out, okay? You guys hear this? This is broad daylight. I don't know where this kid is. Where are you?
Okay, that's just a little clip, it looks like, from Atlanta and Ben. Maybe they did a video on YouTube and took like a clip from it and put it on TikTok. But that man needs to get out of that mausoleum with these voices of people he can't hear.
Did you know there's a YouTube video that supposedly causes seizures, nightmares, and paranoia? It started as an urban legend, a video barely 90 seconds long, buried deep in the forgotten corners of YouTube. The title? Just random characters, glitched symbols, unreadable, no tags, no description, no comments. Those who watched it reported the same thing. A sudden burst of static, a distorted face flashing for a split second, then a low-pitched tone that seemed to vibrate in their skull. Some said they blacked out, others claimed they vomited immediately or woke up that night choking, unable to move. Within days, viewers reported horrifying dreams, twisted visions of a dark hallway, something crawling toward them backwards. A few posted frantic updates online, claiming the video had followed them. One Reddit user said they smashed their laptop, but the sound still played from the walls at night. Another was found in a motel room, eyes wide open, whispering, "It saw me through the screen." No one knows who uploaded it. Attempts to download or trace it always fail. Metadata shows it's older than YouTube itself. Some think it's a digital curse. Others believe it was part of a psychological experiment gone wrong. The video disappears and reappears under new names, new thumbnails.
So if you see anything unusual on your suggested page, ignore it. Ignore it. I can see that little mist that keeps going back and forth, but the first thing that pops into my head is, why do you have a camera in your bedroom? Unless you, I don't know, this is at Hide Quickly 5 on TikTok. I don't know if you have this camera because of paranormal activity, but that's another one that started giving me chills, like right in the back of my arm.
A real awakening feels like being ripped out of the simulation and having to grieve over who you thought you were. People ask me all the time about my spiritual awakening, so I'm gonna give it to you the best way I can, straight, no chaser. First of all, it wasn't peaceful, it was panic. A split-second tear in the veil, and everything I knew fell apart. Gospel of Thomas 84 says, when you see your likeliness, you will rejoice. But when you see your image that came into being before you, how much will you have to bear? It's also a book in the Nag Hammadi text. This means is when you remember that you existed long before this physical body, the truth will shake you. In that moment, I didn't feel aligned, I didn't feel divine, I felt trapped. Because in that moment, I wasn't in alignment and I could feel the separation. Every false system, religion, patriarchy, empire, it all pressed in all at one time. And that wasn't delusion. It was a deep knowing without words. You're not here because you're weak. You're here because you carry the light of recall. Most forget, most assimilate. But I remembered, even inside the trap, even in a body that feels like a cage, even when religion and culture is pulling a veil over your eyes, that's awakening. That's the returning. Let's stop pretending that the awakening is pretty. It's not crystals, candles, cute little affirmations or vision boards. A real awakening feels like being ripped out of the simulation and having to grieve over who you thought you were. It's realizing that your faith was fear in a costume and you're crying, why am I even here, without answers. It cracks your worldview, it strips you of your ego, and you either surrender or you shatter. People don't get it because they haven't felt it, and they argue because they still need the illusion. They think that knowledge equals awakening when in reality you can't survive a fraction of the ego death I went through. The biggest trap is thinking that you're awake because you believe in hell and you remember names that you were told to. That's not awakening, babes. That is indoctrination. Real awakening is going to cost you your identity, your comfort, your religion, your certainty. But in return, you receive your sovereignty, your freedom, and more importantly, you get your light back.
You've been warned. You wanted ghost videos, here they are. In this video, it's at night when he was sleeping and he caught it on his inside living room camera. He lives alone and has started to get poltergeists. And the mediums that he had come in said it's because he has something in his possession that's haunted, but he has no idea what it is and he can't find it. So this is the first of several videos.
Okay, she's saying that there's something in his possession that may be the problem. Feeling something, it's something long and black. The word artifact comes to me, or it may not literally be an artifact, but it may look like one or replicate one. So if they showed me a couple items, I could tell you which one it is. Don't even feel like it has much to do with him, which is strange for me because usually in these situations, there's a connection between the person who has the home or the item that may have that possession. Like there tends to be a connection, but I am not feeling like he is directly connected. Like I feel like someone brought this item in or someone else left it or gave it to him. Like it's secondhand is what I'm saying. Like he's getting secondhand hauntings. Did I just make up a word, like a secondhand haunting? Like, it's really a matter of pinpointing this object, which, and my eye keeps going towards that black thing back there. Tall. It very much reminds me of kind of like an I Dream of Jeannie type thing. Like, it's so attached to this object, and if you open this object, like, open it energetically or just handle it at all, this being, this energy comes out. And so we want to put the energy like back in the bottle. I would love to keep following this, and if they're listening, I would love to help you out.
So I've done a couple of videos from Behind the Hauntings on TikTok. I kind of like the way she shows the video and then she'll come back and give her take on what's happening in the video. Let me know what you all think of her and how she breaks the videos down.
So I get off work and this is what I come home to, which would be cool, but I'm alone and there's nobody here. So maybe did you run the bath? Or are you gonna take it? What the fuck? Did he?
Here. Grandpa isn't here right now. Grandpa here. No, he isn't here. He's gone, Molly. What are you looking at? Grandpa, can you hear me? Yeah. Oh my god.
Нет. Чё? Нет. Опять убери надолго. Если я кухню солю, я вас возьму. Он двигается.
So we saw that one again. I in the other video that shows the other video that I showed, and it had that one about Grandpa. I didn't know that the dog was pressing the button and like he was seeing Grandpa. I kept saying Grandpa. So now I kind of get it, but I still don't believe that impression in the sofa. That first one with, first of all, nice bathroom. I don't know if that was a setup, because I just don't know if that was a setup. Like, you come home and your ghost wants to take a bubble bath with candles, but then when he turned around again and the candles were lit and the bath was running again, I don't know, that was interesting.
Just walking down the trail, me, Gavin, and Greg. Say what's up, Gavin.
Hey, how you doing?
Here's Greg. What's up, Greg?
All bark and no bite.
He's the quiet type. We can't get him to talk. Ah, we know you, Greg. We know you. We know you.
Here this time. Hello? Hey, no. No, stay there. Hey. Oh my God. Dude. It's okay. It's okay.
Niño.
Into my hotel room and immediately see this. You see that line under the door? What is this? What is this? Maybe it's some kind of service. What? Is this a smuggling tunnel? What is this? What the fish snatcher? Let's see what's going on here. This is crazy. This is a hotel. Let's stick it all the way in. What's that? What the fish snatcher?
Чего? Нету. Нет. Чё? Нет. Опять убери надолго. Если я кухню солю, я вас возьму. Он двигается.
I may or may not have climbed up because there's no stairs. Oh fuck! Oh fucking shit!
Going for a walk and I look up and I see my neighbors.
Another day, another fishing into somebody's wall. Let's get rid of some of this. What is this? Oh, tough. Nope. Nope, back in the wall. Never to be seen.
So some of these we saw in previous videos, but this one was interesting to me. That one with the Ouija board, yep, put it back in the wall. And then the one where the guy was, it looks like they're in a jail, obviously. And first of all, how did you get up there? How did you climb up there? And how are you going to get back down? And that's what you get for climbing up there, because then you saw something you did not want to see.
They say water don't hold memory, but Lake Lanier, that water remembers everything. Before Lake Lanier was water, it was Oscarville, Georgia, a thriving black town. I'm talking over 1,000 black folks. running their own schools, their own hospitals, banks, farms, everything. They didn't just live there, they built it from the ground up. Oscarville was black excellence before we even had a name for it. Education, business, medicine, right in the heart of Forsyth County. But in 1912, the mobs came. One accusation turned into violence, then came the threats, then the fire. They drove every black resident out, took the land, and left it hollow. Then, like they was trying to wash away the past, they flooded it. In the 1950s, the government built Lake Lanier right over Oscarville's bones. Stuff happened in this lake all the time. People vanish, boats crash. Some say it's cursed. Others say the town never left. You can't bury that kind of history without it clawing its way back up. The school is still down there. So is the church, the bank, the graveyard. You just can't see it. But Oscarville remembers. Still down there, waiting. And if you come out here smelling like them folks that took it all, their blood, their name, their kin, something down there might just reach up and take you back.
Yep. Everybody has heard about the story of Lake Lanier, and yes, people do keep seeming to drown in Lake Lanier. I have actually been really, really enjoying POV Cam 71's videos. They are obviously AI, but so well produced for me. I love them. So you all are going to be seeing a lot of those videos.
So I work in a movie theater, and we have to check the theaters at night. You know, once you're done closing as an usher, you just flash the camera. You gotta check the door, and then you have to check behind these curtains just to make sure no hobos are back here. You know, no one's back here. And then you just go and... What the fuck?
What the fuck?
It's weird.
Huh? どういうことこれは何これ血痛い痛い痛い痛い何これマジで
Is that all you can do? You know I have the power and the protection of God with me. So you can't do anything else to me, can you?
That one clip that they showed, why do you insist on provoking the spirits? That does not ever turn out well.
I am inside one of the quite literally most haunted places I have ever gone to. I have never experienced what I experienced in this house, and I'm about to show you one of the most haunted rooms. Now, a lot of people on TikTok are sensitive, so trigger warning. There's not good stuff in this room, so scroll away. He calls this the dark room. Although the house is full of items like this, but apparently this room is full of the worst ones. Now, what's interesting about these dolls is they're not like regular dolls. Clearly, there's something going on with them, but I mean, they're not like regular haunted dolls either. They're not human spirits, and they're not even like regular demonic objects either. Whenever you see stories about demonic objects, normally the demon or whatever you want to call it just takes up a vessel for whatever reason. These guys' story are different, and it's worse. All of these dolls were used in witchcraft, which not all witchcraft is evil or demonic or even works with demons. I practice witchcraft. This is a different kind of witchcraft, okay? So don't get it twisted. In this kind of witchcraft, the man who
chose these vessels. He chose them to summon the demon and give it a place to live. So these were specifically chosen, summoned, and put into these things. And I personally feel like that just gives them like an inherent like worse energy than just a regular like a demonic doll. I don't know. Let me know what y'all think in the comments. This room's very sickly. Like I get really like, my head hurts in this room, like dizziness, and I feel sick in this room. I feel sick in the whole house though. The whole house has these objects, but these ones are just apparently the worst. I actually talked to them last night. I investigated here, and I gave them a Dr. Pepper, and I got them on an EVP. I got a demon on an EVP saying Dr. Pepper.
When I saw that huge cross on the door, and when I saw that that door had a lock on the top of it, no ma'am, I am not going into that room. And the Paranormal Patch does have a YouTube channel, so check her out there. They do investigations. I did subscribe to her channel.
Whenever somebody tells me that they don't believe in the paranormal, the first thing I'll usually ask them is what they think about the footage from inside the Watts family home right after Chris Watts murdered his wife and his children. Because I've seen a lot of paranormal footage that can easily be debunked, but I have never seen anybody be able to debunk these. And before I show you these, at first I thought that it wasn't fair that Chris Watts got life in prison rather than the death penalty. But after I found out that he is being haunted by his wife and his children that he murdered, 100%. That is absolutely the punishment that he deserved. Last year, he even came out and said that he's been seeing the spirits of his dead children in his cell. He is absolutely being haunted, and I love that for him.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. What in the world is that? Wow. Go in there and step on that little blue thing and see if that's where that noise came from.
Yeah, it sounded like a kid toy.
It might. It sort of sounds like it.
Something. I heard it.
Did you hear it?
I did.
Does she work?
Yeah, she works from home.
Oh, from home?
She works, this is her lifeline. Okay, I'm gonna take turns back. Now it's gonna start blowing up. Oh yeah. Testing.
It was shut down?
Yeah. 131, 80, 19.
All because he wanted to be with another woman. Why not just leave and be with the other woman? Your wife will be extremely hurt, but at least her and her children, including the unborn child, will still be alive. And I am glad, like she said, I like that for him, that he's being haunted by his family.
What the fuck?
First off, the lights are not supposed to be on in here. Secondly, this one was flashing right before I started recording. Are you good? What the f-
So Dustin, my friend, I'm going to need you to quit your job. There is no way, unless this is your restaurant and it looks like some kind of meeting space as well, I'm going to need you to quit your job. There is way too much happening, and apparently you are the one who opens because you said the lights were not supposed to be on. Yeah, I'm going to need you to quit.
The fact that this was the case that made the Warrens quit says it all. Man, this is going to be such a way to end off the franchise, bro. Once again, the Smurl family case was the case that made the Warrens say, you know what, I'm out. I retire. I'm done. I don't want to deal with this no more. That says enough. So whatever went down in that house in Pennsylvania, they obviously had to leave. And if you notice in the trailer, Lorraine Warren says to Ed, the demon that we was dealing with in the beginning is back. We ran from it because we was young. And it's going to be crazy that they're going to run from, some demons again. But this time they're not coming back and they retire. And the Warrens are no longer here with us. So it was like, yeah, we out. I'm not going to lie, y'all. I low-key, that feeling when you kind of nervous with the butterflies in the stomach. That's how I'm going to feel not going this, bro. Because it's like, I don't really know what to expect, but I do. Because, like I said, this story is the Smurl family story, also known as the Devil in Pennsylvania story. The things that we heard in this story, it really is nightmare fuel. Imagine sleeping and seeing a demon sitting over the bed. Imagine sleeping and seeing a demon crawl up the bed. Imagine sleeping and thinking that your wife is being touchy, and you're like, okay, cool. And you look over, it ain't her. You're being essayed by a demon. Imagine trying to eat dinner with your family and a chandelier falls on the table trying to take you out. Imagine seeing your daughter run up to you and say her dog just sat up and was moving like a person. Imagine hearing mimics and doppelgangers in the crib. I'm not gonna lie. And then, look, it gets crazier. They went after the dog, y'all. They launched the dog across the crib. And then they went after the grandparents. The Smurl family house was a 2-family house. The grandparents lived on the other side, and the main family lived over there. It was getting like that. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I don't know how this is gonna play out, but either way, for some people to say like this ain't gonna be scary or whatever, y'all, it made the Warrens quit. This case right here, this is the real family. This is the one from the movie. They did a great job. Jack and Janet, look, the kids, accurate. This is the case that made them step away. That's all I gotta say. September, we in there. Day 1.
I can't wait for this to come out. I feel like I saw another movie about the Smurl family, though. I can't remember what it is. But I remember Jack and Janet. And I feel like I remember in the other movie that I saw, Janet was hearing her name called, and I think it was by the grandmother in that movie. But I can't wait to see what they do with this The Conjuring Last Rites.
Hey, I just want to make sure I'm not alone in this, but have you ever visited family and you're expecting this real cozy trip where you can reconnect and just rekindle, you know, all old memories and it'd be warm and fuzzy, and then you just get pounced with nightmare fuel like really early on? Like at 7 in the morning, I haven't had a cup of coffee yet. Granny comes out of her room and she's like, do you know this was an old coal mining town before it was a tourist trap? And when it was an old coal mining town, but surprise, it's still an old coal mining town and people just don't talk about it because they're doing that work way back into the mountains now. But when it was an old coal mining town, she talks about how all of the miners used to have recurrent nightmares and that these miners had the same nightmare, and at some point they had to stop mining. There were 2 mines. The first one was one that they dug top down into the mountain where you could like see it from the outside. The other one was dug into the mountain that went way down, and apparently there was a water issue, but they closed the mine suddenly because of these nightmares, and no one was willing to work in the mine anymore. And then Granny just stops mid-sentence and she just moves on to talk about her bridge club. And you're like, hold on, you dragged me all the way to that point. Like what else? What else you got? What else are you hiding? But she can't remember it because now she's so focused on talking about bridge club. Like what?
This family woke up in the middle of the night to their house shaking and wind slamming hard against the windows. When they looked outside, it felt like the entire home was about to be lifted into the sky by a tornado. Panicked, they all rushed into the basement. But what they found the next morning was even more terrifying than the storm itself.
Okay, I was asked to do a video in the daylight of the same area as where I took this storm video. So this was like the blacked out windows you couldn't see much out of. And then this was the one that looked like a TV screen. So these, we're on the 3rd level of the house. And there are trees over there. That light right there was the one that was making it look like somebody was shining a spotlight in the house. And then I will take you guys outside to see the damages.
No, that wasn't necessarily scary, but that was horrible.
I really don't think I'm ever gonna be able to see this shit. Listen to it. Listen to that. Jesus. I mean, this is my whole closet right here. This is my kitchen.
And here we go with this shit again. We're just gonna wait and see how long it goes. It's never not. Stop! Okay, that works. Okay, so it seems to be wanting to happen now more in the afternoon, but just to prove that there's nothing there. Jesus Christ. Oh. You gotta be f***ing kidding me.
I have a tip for you, sir. How about if you just leave that closet door open and it won't keep banging on it? Just leave it open.
A form of demon that has been known to possess animals or humans. What's terrifying is that you could see that the water sounded and looked like it actually hit something before falling to the ground. So even though we couldn't see it, we could hear it, and you could see that the water physically hit it.
And I guess he just got tired of hearing that moaning and groaning. So he was like, let me go get rid of this and toss that hot water on it.
So this is what 25 million of you wanted to see. But for those who don't know, I found this locked box in my attic wall. And the key was rattling inside this mirror. Someone didn't want us to find it. But we have. Really strange objects were inside. Like this small pendant necklace. What looks like a burnt piece from a Ouija board. It's covered in wax. A second key. And this lock of hair. Not sure why it was hidden, but if there's a second key, there could be another box. Follow and we'll keep looking.
Don't keep looking. Put all of that stuff back in that box. Lock that box back and put it back in that little wall you found it in.
I wouldn't watch this video before going to bed if I was you. But for those of you that are brave enough to still watch this video, we caught something truly incredible on one of our recent paranormal investigations. Now, what I'm about to show you has not been edited in any way at all, and we caught this on a live stream. No messing about on this one. Here's the clip.
Yeah. But like this time I was just like, nope.
Now what I'm going to show you now is it just slowed down a little bit. Let us know in the comments what you think that could potentially be. And if you love all things paranormal, make sure you're joining us live on another paranormal investigation very, very soon.
Don't you just love it when people say you don't want to watch this at night, or you don't want to watch this before going to bed, knowing that's going to make you watch it? I think what I saw, other than that guy's shadow, it looked like it was something with wings. Let me know what you think it is. And that is the end of today's video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and share it with someone who may enjoy it as well. And if you keep hearing whispers, do not say I did not warn you.